Glad you could join us again for another edition of the program. Our focus today is on the trips President Muhammadu Buhari has made since assuming power in mid-2015. There have been criticisms that the trips have become too frequent, frivolous, and of no value to a nation facing multiple crises. A position the Minister of Information disagrees with. He insists that these trips are solely meant to drive investments to the country. But the question is, what do Nigerians think? Well, before that is answered, let's take a look at the trending topics in the past week. Residents of Yobe State Capital and commuters in the restive northeast all breathed a sigh of relief as the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, reopened the Damatrubi Road 3 years after it was closed due to Boko Haram insurgency. Nigerians couldn't hold their joy after the partnership between Channels TV and Deutsche Welle was officially announced. The partnership sees the two broadcast giants producing a program called Echo at Africa. The program showcases innovative environmental concepts from Africa and Europe. Once again, welcome to the program. I'm Victor Matthias, and congratulations to all of us at Channels TV and at Deutsche Welle, but most importantly to Nigerians. Well, joining me to discuss this topic of the day is first a technology consultant, Julian Madubuko, and he joins us from Lagos, Nigeria.
Good afternoon.
We also have a political scientist, Yahaya Oyes Yakubu, and he joins us from Istanbul in Turkey.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Also joining us is a photojournalist. He is Sonny Kiri, and he's joining us from Dubai. That's in the United Arab Emirates.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Victor.
Well, thank you all for joining us. But let me just take a pick from football parlance, Julian, and come to you and give you what they state or call the home advantage, and start by asking you what you think. How successful or otherwise you think these trips have been?
I think a lot of them have been unnecessary. It shows the president has no confidence in his appointments. And also, there's a lack of focus on the trips. So, you know, he goes to all types of countries, the big, the small, the significant, the insignificant. And we just don't know, is his focus, the anti-corruption drive, you know, is it infrastructure, is it investment? A lot of the trips that he has made could be made by other cabinet members. I think he has overexposed himself, and I think even the amount of trips and the lack of focus is now distorting the message coming back from those trips. So all we're getting is sound bites, but when you look at the detail, it's very elementary in terms of what the achievements are supposed to have been.
Well, I would like to say that he raised some very crucial points, but in the same time, I wouldn't say I totally agree with what he said. The fact he raised a fact about some of these trips being elementary, I would like to think in that direction and reason with him logically, though I don't see it that way. These trips have numbered over 22 in number, like you did, almost 22 in number, like you did mention. And some of them have been regional, some of them have been to the more advanced West. And terming any country as being insignificant, in my opinion, is not, it can be like over-conceptualization. And the fact that the president travels frequently, I would like him, Mr. Julian, to understand that Nigeria operates a federal system. We have 3 tiers of government. And the office of the presidency is just an oversight. It's a veto player. You get, the president has very little amount of power over the entity constitutionally. He has very little amount of power. So he's been present or absent from the country might affect individual confidence level, but it has very little to do with governance. If he sees that these trips are necessities in combating Boko Haram, repatriation of stolen funds, and economic assistance, amongst other things. If he deems it fit that these trips will be beneficial to the development according to their manifestos, then why not?
All right, Sonny, let me just come to you for a minute. You are in the UAE where the president visited in January. How will you react to the outcome of that visit and even others?
I was like what the first speaker said before. Most of the trips, if they happen to do with corruption and maybe business dealing, Minister of Finance and other ministry can do those one and present him. He has traveled, or I think most of the journey are not really necessary because it's a government and people can present him. So you don't really need to go with 9 ministers and governors to every country every time. Some people, some of his cabinet can represent him and do the needful. So I don't really see it necessary for him traveling from one country to another. And that of the recent visit to China, I don't really. It's not a bad visit, but the Chinese, they are very intelligent and smart people. And if you are doing any business with them, you should be very, very careful. If you want to reach any agreement with the Chinese, you have to study that agreement very well before you go on any deal.
All right, just hold your breath for a second. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back shortly.